If your child has a 4.0, takes AP classes, belongs to 5 clubs, volunteers, and still looks a lot like every other high-achieving applicant at their school, that is a problem. Because at highly selective colleges, being impressive is not the same thing as being distinctive. Give me the next few minutes and I'll show you the 3-part framework I use to figure out whether a student's profile is actually developing a compelling admissions narrative or whether they're just building a longer resume. I also have the differentiation blueprint with 25 ways to stand out that families can use to evaluate whether a student may have opportunities to go deeper instead of simply doing more. I'm Jenny, the founder of Admissions Narrative. I'm an MIT alum with admissions interviewing experience, and I help ambitious families make strategic admissions decisions before senior year, while there's still time to shape the student's profile instead of trying to manufacture a story at application time. And in every one of these videos, I want to give you something you can actually use to make a better decision about your child's admission strategy right now. No vague, follow your passion advice, something practical. Here's what happens with a lot of high-achieving students. They're doing well academically. They're taking rigorous classes. They're involved. They may have leadership positions, awards, volunteering, sports, research, music. On paper, there's nothing obviously wrong. But when you zoom out, there's also nothing that tells you this is what this student is becoming known for. And that's where families get into trouble, because the goal isn't to collect enough impressive things that eventually the pile becomes unique. The goal is to build depth, evidence, and a coherent story. Most families respond to this uncertainty by adding more. Another club, another summer program, another competition, another AP, another volunteer activity, another passion project, because doing more feels safer than choosing. And parents think, what if we drop the wrong activity? What if another applicant has something ours doesn't? And what if the summer program is the thing admissions officers are looking for? So then the resume gets longer, but not necessarily stronger. So why is that not working? Because selective colleges always see students with strong grades, hard classes, clubs, volunteer, leadership, and awards. Those things can be important, but simply having them does not automatically create differentiation. And this is the distinction I want parents to understand. More credentials do not necessarily create more clarity. Sometimes they create the opposite. You end up with 10 disconnected activities that each say a little bit about the student instead of 2 or 3 areas that say something meaningful. So instead of asking, what else should my child do? I want you to start asking, what should become deeper? That is a much better admissions question. Now here's the framework. Step 1, diagnose the profile as a whole. Don't evaluate activities one at a time. Zoom out. Look at academics, course rigor, testing, activities, leadership, awards, projects, interests, and trajectory together. Then ask, if I knew nothing about this student except what was on this page, what would I think they cared about? What would I think they were unusually good at? What evidence would convince me? And where would I still have questions? This is important because families often optimize isolated credentials. They'll ask, is this AP class good? Is this club good? Is this summer program impressive? But admissions, they don't experience the application as 20 unrelated yes or no questions. They experience a person. Step 2 is separate generic strength from differentiation. Now take the profile and divide it mentally into 2 buckets. Bucket 1, things many strong applicants have. Good grades, advanced courses, membership in clubs, community service, honor societies, basic leadership titles. Then bucket 2, evidence that tells us something more specific about this student. Maybe they've built something, published something, solved a real problem, developed unusual expertise, created measurable impact, taken ownership of an initiative, connected 2 interests in an unusual way, or produced a body of work that shows progression over time. That second bucket is where differentiation starts. Not because the student has to cure cancer, but because admissions officers can see ownership and depth. Step 3, build 2 to 3 narrative pillars. Once you find the strongest signals, start connecting them. I usually want families to be able to identify 2 or 3 narrative pillars, not a fake personal brand, not some perfectly packaged teenage identity, just a few authentic themes that connect. What the student is interested in, what they've chosen to do, what they're getting better at, what impact they've created, and where they appear to be heading. Those pillars become a filter. And when a new opportunity appears, the question isn't, will this look good for college? The question becomes, does this deepen what we're already building? And that one question can save a student hundreds of hours of random resume building. Now, why does this solution work? Because you stop treating college admissions like a scavenger hunt. The family finally has a strategy for deciding what deserves the student's limited time. And that matters because the students who appear distinctive often aren't doing more than everyone else. They're simply creating more depth, ownership, evidence, and coherence around the things that matter most. Now, by senior year, they're not scrambling to invent a story. They already have one, and the application simply reveals it. And that's exactly why I created the differentiation blueprint, 25 ways to stand out. It gives families a practical way to look beyond the usual more clubs, more awards, more activities mindset and start identifying places where a student can build real differentiation. Because instead of staring at your child's resume, wondering, is this enough? You have a framework for asking a much more useful question. Where can this student create more depth, ownership, evidence, or impact? And once you can answer that, admissions planning starts feeling a lot less frantic and a lot more strategic. Now, if you like this, comment Achiever on this post, and I will send you additional free resources just like this one.